Qingdao, China. The licking of the wounds continues as our Volvo Ocean Race fleet battles against the clock to be ready for the eagerly anticipated import race. The journey here was brutal.
Okay, guys.
Such a bad start. Sorry, fellas, that's my fault.
Nice solid breeze for quite a while here. Ready? Let go, please. Does not help in this situation right now.
I feel good.
Telefonica Blue followed up their victory on leg 3 by being first into Qingdao. Bauer Becking and his crew will start the import race just 3.5 points behind the leaders Ericsson 4. The blast around the harbour could see them close that gap. This is a team brimming with confidence. But Torben Grail is not willing to surrender Ericsson 4's grip on this race. Their 4th place finish in Singapore and their 3rd in China has spread hope among the rest of the fleet. But they excel in import races and are ready to claim more valuable points. Puma's resurgence continues and they're closing in on the leaders. Ken Reed and Il Mostro are just 7 points behind Torben Grail. This despite arriving in Qingdao with a broken boom. Ian Walker on Green Dragon, the Irish-Chinese entry, enjoyed an extraordinary welcome home at the end of leg 4. They'd experienced 13 days to forget, enduring a painful journey littered with breakages. The clock's ticking as they attempt to repair the boat for the import race. For the remaining 3 boats, the patch-up continues. Ericsson 3 sensed victory on leg 4 before they started taking on water. They're in Taiwan. Will they soldier on to Qingdao to complete the leg and gain valuable points? Or will they cut their losses to be ready for the long trip to Rio? What next for Delta Lloyd? They're also in Taiwan, having retired from leg 4 after hitting trouble on the way to Qingdao. South of them in Singapore is Telefonica Black. Leading at one stage on the trip to China, Fernando Echevari's boat cracked its hull. What will be their next move? Qingdao is ready to put on a show as our boats prepare for the import race. But questions remain. How many boats will start? And will Ericsson 4's lead be eroded even further? The countdown to race day is on. So brutal were the conditions on leg 4, only 4 boats are in Qingdao and have any hope of making the start line for the import race.
Morning.
First procedure. Every day the same. Taking the pants off for the girls.
How is it?
All right.
Bauer Becking knows victory could see Telefonica Blue move closer to the top of the leaderboard. But his participation in the import race is hanging in the balance due to a back injury picked up between Singapore and China.
Quite cold? My hands?
Very cold. You could have warmed up a little bit. I was stacking weight from side to side. I was very angry because we missed the wind shift and we were a little late, so we lost a little bit against Puma. And it was just such a human reaction, just dig it extra hard in and just get the anger out of my body, and then I just over twisted and it was a big snap. So just stupid, just pure stupidity. I just knew there was something terribly wrong with my buttocks, and so I just had to go down and lay down, and I knew that was more or less going to last for a couple of days, and especially with the weather forecast coming up, that was not very pleasant. I'm going to sail the import race and I'm going to sail the next leg.
Torben Grail and Ericsson 4's lead over Bauer Becking and Telefonica Blue is just 3.5 points. Ken Reed on Puma's Il Mostro is third with 38 points. But Puma are battling against the clock.
This will be our boom, hopefully. Well, I hope anyway. It's kind of 3 days late. And the last truck that came down here with our boom in it actually left the airport empty. So it was a great surprise when the door was open, there was nothing there. So hopefully this time there's going to be something in there.
Shaw manager Neil Cox knows he has a matter of days to replace Il Mostro's broken boom. Failure to do so will see them miss the import race and a chance to close the gap on the leaders Ericsson 4.
Green side up, mate. Always a green. It's green both sides. Now this boom too hasn't been fitted to this mast, so it's like it was made for the spare rig that we have. I mean, technically they're supposed to be 2 interchangeable pieces, but you know, there's always those little things that get caught in the way. Try that. Now it's a guess right now. In its raw state, we're about 58 kgs. A few other things to go on it, so she's far from ready.
Joining Cox in working tirelessly to be ready for the import race is the Shaw crew of the Irish-Chinese entry Green Dragon. The list of breakages is extensive, but not making the start line will be a major embarrassment.
When you're going upwind, it's right here. That's where all the action is. When you're sitting on this toilet, right behind the problem, this toilet, you're sitting there in very benign conditions. It's a violent motion. You can't stand up it. No way. You wouldn't be able to sit down there without being thrown around. It's a very, very violent motion, and it's a lot to expect the designs to take. So it's not surprising that on a leg like that this is where all the problems were. I mean, it's very difficult to explain to people who don't go sailing, but these boats are fragile. It's like taking a Formula One race car out on the road. If you hit a bump going 100 miles an hour, you'll break it.
We've been working around the clock, so we only have 4 days before we go back in the water, so we're pretty much just working 24 hours a day, all on. We're going to make the import race. absolutely certain. Failure is not an option.
Approximately 800 miles away in Taiwan are two teams with no hope of making the Qingdao import race. Ericsson 3 and Delta Lloyd both took on water during the last leg and stopped for repairs.
We're going to miss the leg everybody wants to do. Everybody wants to go around Cape Horn. That's what this race is all about. The Southern Ocean and all the great sailing down there. And for us, that's the most disappointing thing, yeah.
This is Monday morning, 5 days after we suspended racing and came into Keelung with a broken boat. And because of Chinese New Year, things hasn't moving so fast as we have wanted, but we haven't been delayed because we are making a new piece, and that's made in Europe, and it's coming here on Wednesday. So now we can have time to move the boat down to the coast, to the yard, and we're going to cut the piece out here, and then when the new piece comes, we're going to glue that back in, and we're going to fight very hard to get to the start of the fifth leg.
Anders Luanda wasn't on board Ericsson 3 for the bruising journey from Singapore to China. He was replaced by Magnus Olsson following a knee injury. Now recovered, he's dealt a hammer blow. Luanda is sacked.
Did the news come as a shock?
Yeah, I was surprised, but it's mixed emotions because this race is an unbelievable trip. I'm so fortunate to be been in this race and to learn so much, and I'm very proud of what we have achieved with the 3 podium places, and nothing can be taken away from that.
The dismissal of Luanda is another chapter in Ericsson 3's incident-packed race. On the first leg from Alicante to Cape Town, Luanda's men finished third but were deducted 3 points for a non-compliant keel. On leg 2 from South Africa to India, the Nordic crew again claimed a podium place when they finished third.
Fire hosting!
Ericsson 3 were once again on the podium in Singapore, beating their sister ship Ericsson 4 by a matter of seconds, but were later deducted a point for entering an exclusion zone. And then with Olsson skippering came the drama of leg 4.
Well, the leg from hell's what happened. We knew it was going to be a hell of a tough leg. We'd sort of had a little bit of everything. The biggest decisions in the whole race were racing versus survival. And we'd done pretty well as a team in a boat. When we ran into trouble, we were in second place, and we really were feeling very confident in the boat, and we hadn't really been pushing it too much. Most of the time we're sailing around at 40%, just trying to keep things safe. We'd had the entire crew on deck for 2 or 3 hours, and discovered that someone had left the seacock open for the toilet. So we were sort of, it was a bit of a witch hunt. We were looking for the lazy that left the seacock open. But I went running down there and discovered that the watertight hatch was bulging, and made the fatal mistake of opening the hatch, which I was knocked over by the water that came through from the bow. And obviously at that point there, we realised that we had an absolute major on our hands. I'd found a hole, so I put my boot on that. About 2.5 hours later, we'd managed to empty the boat out of the water. We cut the floorboards up to the right sizes, and we tore all the bunks out and constructed some framework up in the front of the yacht, which, we had enough pressure on it to keep the hull in good shape, and we went through all the various safety procedures of putting all the gear up on deck. Well, you always know when you're in a good storm when you see commercial shipping slowing down and hiding behind islands, but there was one particular occasion. There was a super tanker coming through one of these oil tankers, and it was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. This thing full of oil, and of course they don't float very high. It's a very, very long, massive structure going through the sea, and the waves would hit the bow of the super tanker and go up like a 15-storey building. This enormous cloud of spray and water, as if a bomb had gone off of the bow of the boat, and then this wall of white water would break down this enormous ship and hit the bridge. It was the most incredible thing I've ever seen. And we were sort of thinking, cool, I wouldn't like to be on there, but I'd love to think what those blokes were saying about us. We thought we were all mad. We are. We're a relatively inexperienced crew, and certainly I saw a lot of white eyes in this race, and rightfully so. You know, the guys got pretty scared, and I think we were all very worried at times.
The enormity of the situation is beginning to dawn on Ericsson 3's new skipper Magnus Olsen, as preparations continue to transport his boat 100 miles along the Taiwanese coast to a boatyard.
To restart in time, it needs a miracle. This boat builder is going to work 24 hours a day, 3 shifts and so on, and we need a miracle.
With the clock ticking, Olsen races south to ensure the boatyard is ready for Ericsson 3's arrival.
The crew is up in Qingdao preparing for leg 5, but they have to come back here to sail the boat back to Qingdao. So they will come back in a week's time from now, roughly. The shore crew, we have 3 good guys here, and then there is 6 external boat builders coming in, and these are the guys that built this boat in Kista in Stockholm over a year ago. So they know the boat very well, and they are actually here already. They are in this place where I'm moving the boat to. So they're going to work around the clock, 3 shifts, 24 hours a day, to make the boat ready so we can make the start of leg 5.
Not for the first time, Ericsson 3's journey along the coast of Taiwan is precarious.
Really don't like the way that it bobs around like that behind us. Kind of scary enough as it is. That looks fairly secure now. I hope it's all right.
In Qingdao, Puma shore manager Neil Cox's battle to get Il Mostro ready for the forthcoming import race continues.
I would say that the boys have done probably a 120-hour week, and hopefully a clean import race will leave us with not too busy a week next week. It's a big relief when it's in the water itself, not hanging up in the sky like this. No matter how many times you do it, you never feel comfortable about it, that's for sure.
Race day.
Is that frost on the deck? There's something in my contract about not having to sail if there's ice on the deck.
Amid the dense fog, 4 shivering crews are preparing for the start of the import race. Leaders Ericsson 4, skippered by Torben Grail, Ken Reed and Puma's Il Mostro, Ian Walker and Green Dragon, and a fully fit Bauer Becking on Telefonica Blue. But the lack of wind is threatening to prevent the race from getting underway.
4 to 5 knots would be a minimum speed. At the moment the wind being as low as 2 knots, and the other big problem is the wind direction, never staying anywhere for too long. So it's impossible to set a course.
I would be stunned if we got 2 races in today, because one race is going to take a long time. Even if it's like a half a mile beats, it's going to take a while because we're going to be going so slow. You can tell my exuberance.
There'll be no more racing today. I repeat, racing.
That was going to be a complete crapshoot race of which skill was going to have very little to do with, and it'd be no fun. Tomorrow we try again.
In Taiwan, skipper and boat are reunited.
Look at this, fantastic. This operation was a little bit on the edge. I don't know, it's my personal thing. Because it needed good weather, obviously, because the barge is not too big, and he was moving around a lot in the big swells out there. Wow! Now we just have to move the things into the shed, and things are on time in a very good way. So this afternoon we can start to cut this piece out, and hopefully we don't see anything more craziness. And then on hopefully Wednesday evening the new piece is coming in, so it's good.
Sunday, take 2 for the import race, but once more the conditions are far from ideal.
Can't race tomorrow, right? You guys have a full schedule tomorrow.
What's tomorrow?
Golf.
We're playing golf tomorrow. So even if today doesn't happen, we won't be able to sail tomorrow. So we kind of hope today happens because of golf.
As the race hangs in the balance, there are further complications.
Well, I'm not sending any more out. If Green Dragon can't get out, then the others can't get out.
There's not enough water out there in the entrance. They assured us there was enough water for the boats to get in and out, and obviously there isn't. So we have an issue, which we'll try and assist them, but we won't be docking out now until we've got enough water that we can safely get them out. So it may effectively screw our day.
It's like running out to the pitch at Wembley and finding no one's brought the ball.
Once more, the light conditions prevent the import race from starting. Racing director Jack Lloyd begins to reorganise the week ahead.
We've rescheduled to Monday. The boats will have to leave the dock probably at 7 in the morning, which is a bit of a shame after prize giving night, but 7 in the morning because of the depth of water. We have an even lower tide tomorrow, so unless they leave at 7 they won't get out for a start. The boats need 2 or 3 days to get prepared for the next leg, and if we keep dragging it on, then we just think that we're putting them under too much pressure for a leg which is 12,500 nautical miles, and they just need the time to prepare the boats.
Monday morning, and the third attempt to stage the import race is underway. The light winds in the harbour continue, so the 4 skippers know it will take intense concentration to claim victory.
Oh, watch Puma here.
Okay, we'll go down. We'll steer now.
Nice start, fellas.
Go, 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 go.
Very light, just to give it best practice.
Slow down. There's pressures here.
On course.
At the first mark, it's Ericsson 4 who lead. A remarkable comeback from Green Dragon sees them challenge Ericsson 4 for the lead with just 1 leg of the race to go. Torben Grail and Ericsson 4 win the first Qingdao import race with Ian Walker on Green Dragon in second. Ken Reid finishes third on board Puma's Il Mostro, while Bauer Becking and Telefonica Blue come home last. There was better luck for Becking in the second of the 2 races, as Telefonica Blue crossed the line to claim victory, followed by Ericsson 4, Puma and Green Dragon. Following the import race, Bauer Becking and Telefonica Blue embark on a huge gamble. They begin work on changing their rudders for the start of the 12,500 mile leg 5 to Rio, incurring a 3-point penalty. The revised leaderboard now means the gap between Torben Grail's Ericsson 4 and Bauer Becking's Telefonica Blue is extended to 7 points, Ken Reid on Puma's Il Mostro is now just 1 point behind Becking in third. Both Delta Lloyd and Telefonica Black are being shipped to Rio, where they hope they will be ready to take part in the import race at the beginning of April and then leg 6. In another extraordinary development, with the boat fully repaired, Magnus Olsen and Ericsson 3 are currently sailing from Taiwan to Qingdao in a race against time. Completing leg 4 will see them claim 4 valuable points, but will they be ready to join the rest of the fleet on the leg 5 start line?